Hi, I'm Laura Jacob, registered dietitian with Christie Clinic, and I'm here at Common Ground Kitchen today, and I'm going to talk about cooking summer squash. There's different types of summer squash. You have zucchini, and these are three different appearances of zucchini, but they're all zucchini. Look really pretty and bright and green. This is a crookneck squash. And then here we have two yellow squash, and they're all pretty similar in taste and texture. There's also patty pan squash, which you might have seen before. It's more flat and it has sort of a scalloped edge, but it's also very similar to these in taste and texture. And there is straight neck squash, and there's many different kinds of squash, but I'm just going to talk about these few today. Squash is really great for fiber. It's high in fiber. It has a lot of fluid in it, so it's kind of hydrating, and also high in vitamin C and vitamin B6, and really, really low in calories for, you can eat a lot of it and not take in a lot of calories. So all good stuff. The flavor's mild, and it kind of goes well with a lot of different vegetables, peppers, onions, garlic, kind of really whatever you want to cook it with. The tenderest ones and the mildest flavor would be the smaller ones, and you want them that have kind of not a lot of bruising or blemishes, and kind of look fresh and colorful. But sometimes the family will give you those big giant zucchinis out of their garden that just pop up all of the sudden. And those can be used for things as well. So we'll talk about that. You want to store them properly after you purchase them. They do dehydrate fairly quickly. You want to put them in a plastic bag in your crisper drawer and kind of use them within about a week for best quality. Don't wash them first. That always is not good for storage. So wash them right before you use them. Some good ways to use squash: you can eat it raw. You could cut it. You could dice it up into sticks and dip it in some dip or something like that. Or you could slice it up and add it to a salad. It's very good fresh. You really don't have to peel it. The skin is nice and soft, and that's where most of the fiber is. Or you could steam it 10 to 15 minutes. You have to be cautious with heat cooking. It does get to a point where it gets mushy. So if you're not looking for mushy squash, just don't overdo it. You can roast it. You can in halves, or you could cut it the long way and roast it, or thick slices until it's tender. Maybe with a little oil, salt and pepper, or whatever fresh herbs that you like, or dried herbs. You could the great big ones that your family gives you, you could slice. I like to make zucchini pizzas. So you can actually slice fairly thick slices and put them on the grill in sort of the cooler area of the grill. And once they start to get soft, you could add some pizza sauce and mozzarella and let it melt, and there you go. You have zucchini pizza, which is actually really tasty. You can bake it into some type of mixed dish, casserole or something, with maybe some sauce and cheese. So it is really versatile. I really like to stir fry zucchini. It comes out really nice and flavorful, and it does go well with all kinds of vegetables. You can use a recipe, or you can throw in whatever you have in your refrigerator or freezer to go with it. It's always a good way to use up those veggies so you have less waste. Today I'm going to make fresh corn and summer squash stir fry. So I've got corn. You can actually use frozen corn if you can't find corn cobs. So I have cut the corn off of about 2 ears. So I'm gonna just demonstrate cutting it off another ear. Kind of flies all over the place, but so all you have to do is just kind of cut down. Don't cut too deep, or you'll end up with some cob. It's not bad to eat, but it's pretty crunchy and not all that pleasant. So don't cut too deeply. See that making a big mess. And then I'll just add that to there. I'm also going to put so I have a red bell pepper, nice mellow flavor. I really like red bell peppers. They're a little bit more mellow than green bell peppers, which are good, but in this particular dish, it adds a nice color and mellow flavor. And so I've already diced up half of that. So we'll set those aside. And we have a nice local onion here. I'm gonna dice up about half of it. Sometimes your local veggies don't look as pretty as the ones that you get at the chain stores, but that's just because they're really fresh coming from the field. So it's actually a good thing. So just gonna cut up my onion. I think everybody cuts their onions a little differently. So there's about a half. I'm gonna peel that outer brown skin off. It's a little chewy to eat. And I'm going to just dice it up. So we're gonna actually start out by starting cooking the onion so it gets a little bit soft because the other veggies won't need to cook as long as the onion. So we can use about I like to limit the butter because it's high in saturated fat, but it does add a nice flavor. So 1 tablespoon of butter, about 2 tablespoons of, you can use olive oil or you can use canola oil. Canola oil is really, both are very heart healthy. Canola oil has a lot more of the heart healthy omega-3 fats in it, which is always good to get in your diet. But both are really heart healthy. Canola has a pretty neutral flavor, but just for fun, I'm gonna use olive oil today. 2 tablespoons of that. So our pan is starting to heat up. And let that get kind of shimmery. And then throw my onion in there. Let that start cooking. You just want to cook it till it starts to soften up. Smells really good. Takes about 5 minutes or so to get that softened up. Onions are super healthy for you. They have lots of antioxidants and different substances that are heart healthy. Tastes really good. I put onions in almost everything that I eat. I like to help people to store their food long term. Zucchini and other summer squashes, when you freeze them, they get very, very soft. And you can do that, and that's fine. But you might want to add it to a soup or a stew or something like that. It can be kind of a nice thickener to add, and it's a good way to not waste your summer squash. But it will be soft. It's not going to be good in a stir fry after you freeze it. Other ways that you can use your summer squash is in some kind of a baked, roasted summer squash dish that has like maybe a sauce and cheese, and you could just put that into your leftovers into a tight-fitting freezer container, and that should be just fine. So now we're gonna add, I need to cut up my zucchini. So I'm just gonna do a variety. I'm gonna do the crookneck, yellow, and zucchini. So I'm just gonna cut those in, just kind of actually dice them up. You could slice or you could dice. I'm gonna dice today. About maybe a 1/2 inch thick, and quartered and a 1/2 inch thick would be good. So 3 small summer squashes go into this. Watch my fingers there. starting to get kind of brown. And set that aside there for just a second so I don't overcook it. Just cutting off the top and the bottom stem area. This part is much smaller, so I'm just gonna slice this. So they're all about sort of a consistent size and they get done at the same time. This part is a little bigger, gonna have it. So I'm gonna put my pan back on here. It should get hot again pretty quickly. And I'm gonna throw in the squash and all of the corn and the bell peppers and cook all that together until the squash is tender. Again, don't overcook it. It can get really mushy. Nice diced red bell pepper for color and flavor, and all this nice fresh corn, or again, you could use some frozen corn. I like my corn a little bit crispy. I think typically when people make corn on the cob, they really cook it a long time and it just kind of cooks everything out of it. But really, you can just really lightly cook fresh corn and it's nice and crispy and flavorful, and it'll add a nice crisp to this recipe. Just keep cooking and stirring till your squash is tender, but not too tender. And this whole thing is a really heart-healthy, high-fiber recipe. So good for the digestive system, good for the heart, good for the cholesterol level. And it's fairly low, so some people limit their carbohydrates. So everything in here is actually low carbohydrate except for the corn, and there's really not that much corn. So I'm a big believer in having at least some carbs in every meal. It just gives you a source of energy. So you don't get that low feeling. It's just all about not overdoing it. So I think that's about ready to go. It's kind of tender crisp, and we still have good color in our red bell pepper. So ready to eat. You might want to do a little bit of ground black pepper on it for a little extra pizzazz. Maybe a little sprinkle of sea salt. Don't overdo the salt. That's not heart healthy. Just enough to give it a flavor. Sea salt is kind of nice because it has a more salty flavor with using less salt. It's still salt, but you can use less of it and get the same salty flavor. So you end up with less sodium in your diet. And that's about it. So thank you for joining me. I'm Laura Jacob, registered dietitian with Christie Clinic, and I hope you enjoyed the segment, and hope to see you again.